properly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare
This is the thing, right?
Hare
Yeah.
Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare
It's
Krishna,
on one,
Krishna
number one
Krishna,
or
Hare
two?
Ram, Hare
What's
Krishna,
another one?
Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram,
Yeah, it's in one.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram,
The things that
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna
when
Krishna,
that
Krishna Hare
prabhu
Ram,
is coming,
Hare
he always leaves his phone on. Can you
Krishna,
turn
Krishna,
it
Hare
on
Ram,
like do not disturb or
Hare
off?
Krishna, Krishna
Oh,
Krishna,
this
Hare
older fellow who
The
watches the
other
pods.
guy.
Yeah. But he's
Hare
turned off,
Hare
man.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare
As
Krishna,
soon as he
Krishna
walks in,
Krishna,
we'll tell him. I'll tell him.
Hare
Turn your phone off.
Hare Krishna,
Completely
Krishna
off.
Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare
Yeah.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare
Yep.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
See
Hare
on the
Ram,
airplane mode.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna. Might as well turn the lights on. It's kind of dark. Okay, good. Lesson 10. By the way, I checked in today for my flight, and then I checked a bag. I was surprised they didn't charge me. Air Canada doesn't charge you for you to check your luggage?
Well, it depends on the company. How many luggage
Air
do you have?
Canada, just one piece to check.
Do you have a carry-on as well?
What?
Do you have a carry-on as well?
Well, I have my
Your
backpack.
backpack, yeah. Some companies they let you go with one, but if you bring two, then they will charge you. Depends.
If you bring carrying 2 carry-ons.
Maybe.
What does that have to do with the checking a big bag? Anyway, you know, like United Airlines, I flew up here on United Airlines, you know, $45 to check a bag. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I will take the Canada courtesy. It's good. Okay. I thought maybe I was hallucinating or something. Okay, sing and they will come. Here we go. Nama Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Nahamane Nama Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Vrinda Jaya last time for this series. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, lesson 10 here. Prabhupada with another mudra there, using his hands. Lesson 10, who's the reader? You want to read? You read.
I can read a part, but I have to leave in half hour, so just
Okay.
Okay.
Before we look at some ways to access and nourish our personal, foundational relationship with His Divine Grace, let's consider how Srila Prabhupada is for everyone. That's an old picture of Srila Prabhupada in New York City, 1966. You can see he looks younger there. Okay?
Universal teacher.
The year was 1935. In February, Abhay Charanardavinda Das spoke at the Vyasa Puja celebration of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Bombay. Not only was the Thakur, Abhay's spiritual master, he was the founder Acharya of the entire Gaudiya mission, which had ignited a renaissance of Krishna consciousness throughout the Indian subcontinent. Addressing the assembly, Abhay declared, and this Vyasa Puja address by Prabhupada used to be printed every year in the BBT Vyasa Puja book. I don't think they do that anymore, but it's a very powerful speech, an example of a perfect Vyasa Puja offering. Quote, "The Acharya Dev, to whom we have assembled tonight to offer our humble homage, is not the guru of a sectarian institution or one out of many differing exponents of the truth. On the contrary, he is the Jagad Guru, the guru of all of us. The only difference is that some obey him wholeheartedly, while others do not obey him directly." Jai Sisi Gonitai Sisi Radha Manohar Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani Ki Jai. Okay, so that was in 1935 on Prabhupada's. He gave the keynote address on the Vyasa Puja day at the opening of the Bombay Gaudiya Math. Now, in 1971, so that's like 36 years later, after Prabhupada had established the Hare Krishna movement, after Prabhupada had become ISKCON's founder Acharya, a reporter asked him how many followers he had. And I'm not sure where this was. Anyway, I think it was on the West Coast. Okay, so read this. Yes. So, yeah, Prabhupada said something very similar to this reporter. Okay, so that's one way Prabhupada's for everyone. He's a universal teacher. And now,
Srila Prabhupada is for everyone.
between 1965 and 1977, Srila Prabhupada circled the globe. How many times, do you know?
Is it 8?
14.
14, wow.
I don't know how Prabhupada did it. I mean, just flying from Tucson to Ottawa, I was like jet lagged, you know, for at least a day. I mean, when I go to India, forget it, I'm out of it for a week. The Prabhupada just, well, we bring that up here. 14 times. Establishing the Krishna consciousness movement on every major continent. Let's see. Oh, I should have let you read that. Okay, the next thing, then you read this. At an age when most people wish to comfortably retire, Prabhupada kept up a non-stop preaching pace, tirelessly responding to his mission's demands. As he wrote one disciple, quote, and he wrote him around this time. You see, the picture actually is Prabhupada deplaning in Geneva in 1974 in the spring, in June. As Prabhupada wrote one disciple, quote, regarding your invitation that I attend the Rath Yatra Festival in San Francisco on July 7th, it is possible that I may attend depending on when I finish my European tour. So that picture, he's in the middle of his European tour. And he's going to mention Geneva here. I am due to arrive in Rome on May 23rd, then after a week, Geneva, then Paris, and possibly Stockholm, Germany, and England. If there is time, I can fly directly from Europe to Los Angeles and go to the festival. And the festival that he was being invited to is the San Francisco Rath Yatra. So that's another flight. You got to go up to San Fran from LA. Then, as you suggest, it doesn't stop there, go to Australia Rath Yatra via Hawaii. When you go to, I did this once, when you go to Australia from the west coast of the United States, the smart thing to do is you just stop in Hawaii, because that's kind of southwest. It's in the sort of same general direction as Australia. And then Prabhupada says in the letter, this is known as Jet Age Parivrajacharya. And Prabhupada didn't make that up because somebody in the Hindustan Times in Bombay noticed Prabhupada's itinerary, and he said, this is a Jet Age Swami.
Jet Age Swami?
A Jet Age Swami. We've never seen anything like this, you know. Swamis jetting all over the world. Astonishingly, Jet Age Prabhupada never knew jet lag, or ignored it if he did, instantly adapting to the time at its latest destination. Though most of us were young enough to be his grandchildren, we couldn't keep up with him. As Prabhupada would sometimes say, my desire is to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere at once. So we couldn't keep up with that. All right, so that's another way Prabhupada's for everyone, global preacher, and
Srila Prabhupada is for everyone.
matchless giver. That Srila Prabhupada founded over 100 Hare Krishna temples, schools, farms, restaurants, and other projects, all while writing and publishing dozens of translations and commentaries on foundational Vaishnava scriptures, is simply miraculous. How did he do it? Well, for one thing, Prabhupada didn't sleep much. Oh, I guess I was supposed to let you read that. Yeah, okay. So, then, okay, we'll read it again. I mean, to write anything, it requires, serious writing requires a lot of concentration. But while he's doing writing, he's traveling all over the world, and he's managing. He's visiting temples and receiving guests and opening all these different kinds of projects. It's like superhuman. So how did he do it? Well, for one thing, Prabhupada did not sleep much. After going to bed at 10 p.m., he would usually rise at midnight or 1 a.m. and write through the wee hours. If he had time, he would nap for a half hour after breakfast and a full hour after lunch. His days and nights were a seamless weave of selfless service. So it wasn't like, when I go to bed and I crash for, many hours, and then another day begins when I get up. But Prabhupada's, it was a seamless weave of selfless service. He would sleep a couple hours, then he'd get up and start dictating like he is there. And then he'd bathe, and then he'd, chant and go on a morning walk, and then give the class, and take breakfast. And then he would maybe nap a little after breakfast, and then he would do some business, take care of business, whatever the business was in the local area. And then he'd have, midday massage, answer letters during the massage, then bathe, then take lunch. So that was the big meal. So after the big meal, then he'd try to nap, an hour, hour and a half. And then he'd receive guests. This is non-stop, So, a seamless weave of selfless service. Another short sleeper is the cow, to whom Prabhupada would sometimes compare himself. In Bombay, devotees once told Prabhupada they were concerned not enough people would come to a program they had arranged. Prabhupada replied, "No, I am like a cow. I give milk anywhere. This is what I like to do." Here's another way Prabhupada's for everyone.
Srila Prabhupada is for everyone.
And that is the beautiful Vyasasana in where? Anybody know? No, it's New Dwarka. Very opulent. It's a very opulent temple. The deities are very opulent. They're manifesting as it's like the supreme movie stars. Rukmini Dwarkadish, they're in Culver City, California, which is where a lot of the movie studios are. So Krishna's manifesting as very glamorous rupa, the way they do the outfits and the flowers. Krishna does this a lot. Just like if you go to Mexico City, I haven't been there, but I've seen pictures of the deities. And what are their names? Anyway, they look like the Supreme Senor and Senorita. And in London, Radha London Ishwar, anybody been there? They look like the Supreme Lord and Lady, just very dainty, Lord and Lady. Those are Prabhupada's favorite deities, actually, he said. Okay. So, another way Prabhupada's for everyone is... Go ahead, Mataji. Oh, read. Avesh Avatar. Okay, now this. Whoop. The Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita Anchalila 7.11 states, the fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. Commenting on this verse in CC Antya 2.14, Prabhupada further identifies the one who empowers the spreader of the chanting. Now you can read.
Therefore, they are sometimes called Avesha avatar or empowered incarnations, for they are endowed with the power of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Leela 2:14 purport.
Yeah, you don't have to read the reference, but so Prabhupada was empowered to do what he did. You can't do that. You can't do what he did and spread it all over the world unless you're empowered. But of course, Prabhupada didn't say, that's me in the purport. He just said a person. He's talking about somebody in the third person there. So he's very humbly not pointing at himself. Once an Indian Swami criticized Prabhupada's global preaching by saying that if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had wanted Krishna consciousness in the Western countries, why didn't he go there himself? This is a foolish criticism. Yet, Prabhupada always passed on that credit to others, to his followers, to his spiritual master, and finally, to Krishna himself. It is a mark of Prabhupada's absolute transparency as an Avesh avatar that he named his movement after who? Did he call it the Bhaktivedanta Swami movement? What did he call it? The Hare Krishna movement. Like in Back to Godhead, the magazine of the Hare Krishna movement, or the Krishna conscious movement, yeah. Whereas all the other gurus, swamis, and yogis who have come to the West, you remember their names. Still to this day, most people don't know who Prabhupada is. That's our job, to glorify Prabhupada and inspire people to hear what he has to say. Okay. I guess it's not here, but yeah, this Swami who said, if Lord Chaitanya wanted it spread all over the world, why didn't he do it himself? So you know what Prabhupada replied to that? He said, therefore he left it for me to do. He left it for me to do. Just see, he loves his devotees more than himself. Lord Chaitanya wanted to glorify Prabhupada, so he left it for him to do. Okay, now, here we go. So that's how he's for everyone. And there's my favorite picture of Srila Prabhupada. You know how that picture came to be taken, by the way? There were several shots of Prabhupada that are pretty famous, but they were taken very early in ISKCON's history. When Prabhupada went from 22nd Avenue in New York to the West Coast to open up the West Coast, then Prabhupada got a letter from the devotees in 22nd Avenue that said, "Oh, you're gone now, Swamiji. We don't know what to do. What should we do? You're our leader." And so Prabhupada said, "Well, just do what I instructed you. Just have kirtan, and offer food, and go out and chant, in the public the way I taught you to do in Tompkins Square Park, Washington Square Park. And you can keep my picture, if you like, on my seat." But then they said, "Well, we don't have a picture. There were no pictures of Prabhupada. Nobody took pictures of him." So then Prabhupada said, "Oh, okay. Well, there's a person here who's a good photographer." Thank you. And his name was Roger Siegel. And he became who? Do you know who Roger Siegel became? I'll give you a hint. He was Jamuna's husband. Gurudas. So Swamiji said, "Roger, they want a picture of me, and so can you take some pictures?" So he took many pictures that became rather famous. He was a good photographer, and this was one of them. And he just set Prabhupada up, and it was a very quick thing. He just set in the different situations, and this is one, a dark background, and there's Prabhupada there with the books, and he just threw some, cloth over a seat, but it was really good. Prabhupada looking so grave and so compassionate there. Let's see. Oh. Now, if Srila Prabhupada is for everyone, right? Universal teacher, matchless giver, Avesh avatar, global preacher. He is certainly for everyone in ISKCON. Again, not just for 4,780 initiated disciples. As mentioned in Lesson 9, in 1994, ISKCON's governing body passed its first Founder Acharya resolution. Here are all of that resolution's points. So we mentioned one point, and now we're going to see them all from that resolution. There you go.
A. Srila Prabhupada is the foundational Shiksha Guru for all ISKCON devotees.
And there's 3 dots because there's more to each one, but I put up just enough to give you the gist, the essence of each one.
C. Srila Prabhupada's books are the embodiment of his teachings and should be accepted as the standard by all future generations of ISKCON. E. Every spiritual master is responsible to guide his disciples to follow Srila Prabhupada's instruction.
Okay, very good. You have 5 more minutes. You have 5 more minutes. I can see the clock. So more Founder Acharya resolutions came later, identifying our foundational relationship with Srila Prabhupada as the sublime pivot around which all our other relationships turn. Amid our ever-increasing diversity, Srila Prabhupada remains the unity. So, now how else can we connect with Prabhupada? Okay, so this is a collage I made. So, if you were born after Prabhupada's time with us, I think most of you, except Prabhu, I think everybody else was born after Prabhupada's time with us, or never knew him when he walked among us, you may wonder what will happen to his society when the last, quote, Prabhupada disciple has left this world. Remember I told that story? Not to worry, since the Latin origin of disciple means learner, the root of the Latin word disciple, it actually means learner. That's what it means. As the Hare Krishna movement continues to expand, Prabhupada's presence will also expand through the generations of disciples who learn and pass on his divine instructions. Despite our different Gurudevs, since we all share the same Founder Acharya, generations will continue to follow his divine grace into and out of this world, sharing Krishna's mercy with suffering humanity in many ways. So that's what this collage is all about. Many ways. Prabhupada has so many ways, aspects to him. Which aspect of Srila Prabhupada inspires you most? So beginning from the top left, Prabhupada, the back to the land of Krishna pioneer. Then the middle, Prabhupada, the world Sankirtan party leader. Then on the right, Prabhupada, the Vaishnavi empowerer. Lower left, the consummate cook. Bottom middle, the prolific author. And bottom right, the cultural conqueror. The list goes on. That bottom right, Prabhupada, anybody know what he's doing there? He's installing deities. Do you happen to know which deities? It's 1973. It's London. It's England. No, Londoneshwar is 69. This is 73. This is the next set of Radha Krishna deities. Have anybody been to the manor? Have you been? Okay, Radha Gokulananda. So you go there today, it's Gaurnitai, Radha Gokulananda, and Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman are there. The list goes on. A true transcendental Renaissance man, Prabhupada is many-sided, but to whichever side we're attracted, there are standard ways to build a personal foundational relationship with His divine grace. Okay, take the remote because we're going to have some sound here. Oh, that's good. Okay. Okay. Good. Look at that. Sweet. Look at this. And did you make pranam? This is called a pious birth. Ooh, wow. Okay. All right, so I'll give you some background. Now that picture doesn't match where Prabhupada is speaking, but Prabhupada is in the picture. He's walking around a place at Golden Gate Park called Stowe Lake, one of his favorite places to walk. And but the sound you're going to hear, the background is a god sister of mine. Have you heard of Rukmini? She's married to the International ISKCON Communications Minister. Do you know who that is? Anuttama Prabhu. Okay, so Rukmini in 1968, she was only 16 years old, and she had met the devotees in San Francisco. You know, she was part of the counterculture. And then when those 3 couples in San Francisco decided they wanted to go to open up England, who were those couples? And Jamuna. And Shamsundar and Malati. Who was the last couple? No, Rukmini wasn't married yet. She was just she was a 16-year-old girl. Mukunda and Janaki. So, on their way to London from San Francisco, they stopped in Montreal. They stopped right here, not in this temple. It was when they were on 3720 Park Avenue, a former bowling alley. Yeah. So Prabhupada initiated her on the 15th of August. I just WhatsApped Rukmini, and I said, congratulations, this is the 58th anniversary of your initiation in Montreal, where I am right now giving the founder Acharya seminars. And I said some French to her. What did I say? Félicitations, chère Rukmini Prabhu. De toute façon, what did I say? What did I say next? Anyway, something. So she WhatsApped me back and she said, oh, thank you so much. I don't know French, but anyway, yeah, she's only 16 years old. And when Prabhupada heard that she was only 16, you know what the first thing he said to her was? He said, do your parents know where you are? He was concerned for her parents, you know. Anyway, so he initiated her on the 15th, and then 3 days later, on the 18th, Prabhupada was giving a lecture on the Bhagavatam, and then this is right on the database, you can listen, you can hear it. Prabhupada is, he's saying, are there any questions? And so Rukmini raised her hand, and she's very shy at that point, and you can barely hear her, but she said, when you're not here, I feel so far away from you. I feel so lonely, far away from you. When I'm not here, I won't always be with you, but I would feel so lonely. So then Prabhupada gave this answer to her. And he didn't say anything about Vani or Vapu. He said, you'll hear what Prabhupada said.
That you should not think. There are two conceptions, the physical conception and the vibration conception. The physical conception is temporary, and the vibration conception is eternal. Just like we are enjoying or we are relishing the vibration of Krishna's teaching. So by vibration he is present. As soon as we chant Hare Krishna or chant Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavad, so he is present immediately by vibration. So we should give more stress on the sound vibration, either of Krishna or of the spiritual master, then we'll be happy and no separation.
Prabhupada, he didn't, in the beginning especially, he wasn't giving much Sanskrit, Vani, Vapu, but he was making the point. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Peut-être. Okay. All right, so that's definitely one way we can all connect with Prabhupada by vibration. Let's see here. Where am I? Yeah. So the first and foremost way we can all connect with Srila Prabhupada is by becoming keen students of his spoken and written word. Regular attentive hearing from our founder Acharya, especially in the company of sincere and serious devotees, grounds us in the root relationship that nourishes us all. Separated from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta for decades, Prabhupada would nonetheless say he always felt his spiritual master right by his side. How? By absolute absorption in hearing, chanting, and applying Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's teachings. In the same way, in the company of sincere and serious devotees, absorbed in studying and presenting Prabhupada's teachings, we will also feel Prabhupada's presence always in our lives. And I think I shared with you, that's why every morning when I wake up and I'm doing my, evacuating and bathing and brushing my teeth and everything, I've got a Prabhupada recording on. That's a big way of staying in touch with Prabhupada. Okay, and now we're going to look at two examples of two devotees who kept in touch with Prabhupada by his vibration. Who's got okay, you want to read?
Srila Prabhupada and Jayananda Prabhu, and Srila Prabhupada and Yamuna Devi.
Yes. So, in this connection, two exemplary devotees from my generation come to mind, Jayananda Prabhu and Yamuna Devi. In 1967, Yamuna and Jayananda were among the first to join Srila Prabhupada's movement in San Francisco. Deeply devoted to Prabhupada from the start, they were also as different as night and day. I mean, they were really different, but they what they shared in common was they loved to hear from Prabhupada. To meet Jamuna was to meet a priestess of devotion, expressed most wonderfully through her cooking, singing, and deity worship. Prabhupada, the cultural conqueror, came through Jamuna. Did you know that Jamuna in 1987, she wrote a famous cookbook? Anybody know what that cookbook is called? Title? It won the best cookbook, not just in the vegetarian category, but in the whole world in 1987. It's called Lord Krishna's Cuisine. And it's a big, fat book. Since then, after that, she came out with simpler books, quick recipes and smaller books. But this is like a Bible. This is a big, it's like the Bible. And all the recipes work perfectly because she tested them many, many times. So anyway, she was a great cook. She was a great singer. We hear her every morning, right? Govinda. And she had great deity worship. She was the one who was the head pujari when Prabhupada installed Sri Sri Radhalandanishwara in 1969, December. It's quite a story how those deities came. If you know the story, it's pretty funny actually. But Prabhupada trained her, and then when she and Guru Das went on to India after that, she trained a god sister of mine, Mandakini. She's a French lady, Mandakini. You know Mandakini. Yeah, because she's connected with the Russian Yatra for many years, because she married Anatoly Pinyaev, who became Anantashanti. Jai Sisi Goni Tai. Sisi Radha Manohar. Sisi Jagannath Padari Subhadra Maharani. It's a pretty amazing story. Do you know how, did you ever hear from, did you ever meet Mandakini?
I think so once. I saw many classes because she's staying at my guru's ashram. She's often visiting and staying there in Kazakhstan.
Oh, okay.
She tells lots of stories. So.
Yes, because when Anatoly, he was the one that Prabhupada met when Prabhupada went in June '71 to the Soviet Union, and right under their nose, right under the nose of the Soviets, Prabhupada was. You better keep him under control, Mataji. He's disturbing. Please take him out if he's too loud. Thank you. I mean, they almost didn't make it into the country, because when Prabhupada received an invitation from this Grigory Kotovsky, this head of the Oriental Institute in Moscow. So as soon as he got there, he was having correspondence with Kotovsky from India, and then Kotovsky said, "You should come to Moscow. We can have some nice talks, So Prabhupada, as soon as he got that letter, he gave it to Shamsundar. He said, "Okay, you go down to the Russian embassy in Delhi, and you said, my Guru Maharaj has an invitation to the Russian embassy in Delhi, and you should give him a visa to go to Russia, because here's the invitation." And somehow they did it. Not only did they give Prabhupada a visa, but they gave Shamsundar and another devotee named Aravinda. These are godbrothers of mine, both Americans. This is during the Cold War. I mean, it was just like Yoga Maya, how they both got visas, Prabhupada got a visa. But then just before Shamsundar, just before they left, Malati, Shamsundar's wife, put a Bhagavad Gita in Shamsundar's bag right? A carry-on bag. So when they got to the airport in Moscow, they were being checked out. Here's a Swami, here's these two Americans. They had American passports, and so they were really scrutinizing everything. And then they found this Bhagavad Gita, and that's like heresy. It wasn't Marxism, Leninism, it was some, what is this? Maybe it's competition for communism, So they didn't want to let him in. So I think Prabhupada said, it's either Prabhupada or Shamsundar said, no, we need to talk to your superior, your boss, we're just tourists here. They got tourist visas. Because Kotovsky said that, just go as a tourist, don't go as some teacher of something else, they won't let you in. So anyway, some guy came, the higher up from the guys that were checking him out. And so the guy took a look at the Gita and took a look at Prabhupada and said, look, he's an old man, they're only going to be here, they got a visa for 5 days, he's not going to do any harm. Little did they know, Prabhupada was going to plant the seed of Krishna consciousness that was going to spread like wildfire in the devotee underground in Russia. Yeah. So, yeah, so they did that. He planted the seed. He taught Anatoly as much as he could in a few days how to play the mridanga and how to make a japati. They left the Bhagavad Gita because he spoke English. He left the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada gave him as much Krishna consciousness as he could, because he was ready. He was ripe. Krishna sent him. Shamsundar meant two people, and they were both interested. Shamsundar on the sly, he would talk to people, because they were following him too, right? The KGB. So he found two people, and Shamsundar, these two people, one was Anatoly and one was the other guy, and the first thing they said to Shamsundar, they saw he was an American, they said, do you have any Beatles records? They wanted to hear Beatles. They didn't want to hear any, Soviet stuff. They were sick of it. So Shamsundar said, I can give you something better. I can introduce you to the guru of the Beatles. Because Prabhupada had met the Beatles in '69. So, and of course George was the one who actually became, Krishna conscious. So one of the guys was not interested, but Anatoly was interested. And he followed Shamsundar back to the National Hotel right across from the Kremlin. I visited Moscow in 2014, and I insisted that my devotee hosts, take me around. I went in the Kremlin, stood by St. Basil's Cathedral where Prabhupada, and where did Prabhupada stay? Oh, there's the National Hotel, So Prabhupada and Anatoly were having correspondence, and Anatoly said, I really want to spread Krishna consciousness, but if I'm going to do this, I need a wife. I need a helper. I need an assistant. And so Prabhupada, meanwhile, back in London, Mandakini, she's the head pujari at the manor, or at the Soho, what do you call it? Berry Place. Yeah. So, and she and Jyotirmayi, her French god sister, they had come to Berry Place in '69 as students from France, and they were interested in Buddhism, And they had wanted to become Buddhist monks, because in Buddhism, ladies can become monks. There's ladies Buddhist monks. There's one right in Prince Edward Island. There's a Buddhist monastery there. So anyway, they decided they didn't want to get married, although they were both attractive young French girls, right? So anyway, so Prabhupada said, okay, that's what you want. But then when he came back from Russia, when he was touring, and he went to very place, and he said, Mandakini, you're not married yet? Nobody's good enough for you? He was having fun with her, you know. And then she said, oh no, Srila Prabhupada, I just want to please you. That's all I want. I don't need a husband. I just want to please you. Oh, you just want to please me. So, how would you like to go to Russia and marry this person I just met in Russia? You know, sight unseen. Never met the guy. So then Mandakini was on the spot. Okay, I will do it, you know. So she went to Russia and met Anatoly. I think they only had one meeting. And then, but what happened was, over time, because she was from the West, she was from France, the government would not allow it. They would not allow one of their citizens to marry a French. They thought maybe she'd be a spy, or who knows, you know, what they were thinking. This is during the, I think the Brezhnev era. Oh no, it was before Brezhnev. Anyway, there was Khrushchev, and then Andropov, and so many guys, you know, and then there was Brezhnev. And anyway, so it didn't work. But then Anatoly, he spread it anyway, and of course he was very persecuted. He was messed up with all these, you know, psychotropic drugs they gave him, and yeah, he did pass away amongst devotees. Yeah. But because of that order of Prabhupada and her surrender, and then meeting Anatoly, and then in the meantime, the whole thing was spread underground by Anatoly and so many. And you've read The River of Time, this book, yeah. Huh?
There's a movie on
There's a movie
that.
too.
Really good one. It's in Russian, but it gives like interviews with devotees, and they're telling the stories how they were doing that.
Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't know that. Which was first, the movie or the book?
Well, the movie is recent. It's something like 5 years or maybe 7 years old.
Okay. Yeah, I'm reading it now. It's back in Tucson where I live. So the whole Russian Yatra is aware of this history, and so she's become kind of like the queen mother of the Russian Yatra, you know, one of the founding mothers, just because of her surrender. And so to this day, she goes, you know, to Putin's Russia, and she, you know, quietly tells stories. And leads them on yatras. You know, sometimes she goes to India with Russian devotees, and the queen of the Russian yatra. Okay, so how do I get into that? Oh, anyway, so yeah, Jayananda. So, Jamuna, yeah, her connection with Mandakini. So, yeah, Jamuna was like an aesthete. An aesthete means he was very refined in her tastes and her cooking skills and her music ability, like an artist, deity worship, you know. Now Jayananda, he was totally different. He was this big, strong guy from Ohio State University, and he had a degree in mechanical engineering. So that's why he's connected with Rathayatras. You've seen maybe his picture on the cards, the Rathayatra cards. So Jayananda was strong as an ox and humble as grass. I got to know him in the last year of his life when he caught leukemia. He came to LA and he couldn't physically work anymore, but he was directing the building of the first Rath cart for the LA Rath Yatra in 77. That happened after he passed away. A mechanical engineer by training, Jayananda was a tireless worker who was perhaps best known for building huge chariots for ISKCON's annual Rath Yatra parades. Prabhupada's surpassing strength and humility came through Jayananda. So he was manifesting that aspect of Prabhupada. Jamuna was manifesting another aspect of Prabhupada. Different as they were, Jamuna and Jayananda both had a deep love for hearing from Srila Prabhupada. By developing a similar love and a deep dedication to serving Srila Prabhupada's mission, one or more aspects of our beloved founder Acharya will also shine through us, because we all have different natures. And if we purify that nature by using it in Krishna's service, then that will be very attractive to people. And we can attract them to Krishna through that, whatever our thing is. You know, I think we talked about this in Finding Our Mission in His Mission, right? What's your thing? That thing, especially doing which you forget time. So by hearing is one way, but also by serving His mission. Go ahead.
Connect by finding and making your best contribution to our founder Acharya mission.
Since some dubious devotional groups prematurely focus on seeing Krishna face to face, Prabhupada admonished his followers that the best way to see Krishna is to serve the mission of his pure devotee, the spiritual master. Here's from a purport.
When one becomes serious to follow the mission of the spiritual master, his resolution is tantamount to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, tantamount means it's the same thing. It's the same as, it amounts to. So when you serve the mission, Prabhupada said, that's the same thing as seeing Krishna face to face. Okay. Quote, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would say, quote, don't try to see God. You work in such a way that God will see you. And when that work is done cooperatively in Srila Prabhupada's mission, Krishna is pleased and blesses us many-fold. Okay, now, who knows what kind of creature that is? Yes. How did you know that?
I recognize myself.
Very humble answer. Yeah, native to Madagascar, like off the coast of Africa. That was the best jumper I could find on Google Images, so I put it in there. Better than monkeys, better than the pictures of the monkeys jumping even. All right, so there's the jumper, but then what does the caption say?
But no jumping, please.
So in the early 1970s, as more Western devotees began to visit India, some became fascinated by the books in English of our Gaudiya predecessors, especially of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Bhaktivinoda. So they asked Prabhupada if they could read their writings. Yeah, as devotees started to go to India, they noticed in English some books by Bhaktivinoda, Bhaktisiddhanta, especially at Gaudiya Mats, they would carry them. So they asked Prabhupada if they could read their writings. Prabhupada wasn't pleased, at least in this context. So here's what Prabhupada said.
You cannot imagine what my spiritual master said. Or even if you read some books, you cannot understand unless you understand it from me. This is called you cannot jump over to the superior guru. I will say,
So ISKCON's multiple guru culture today, in ISKCON's multiple guru culture today, we've come to realize that a prime duty of our initiating and instructing spiritual masters is to deepen, enhance, and enrich our foundational relationship with Srila Prabhupada. If, quote, no jumping over means no neglecting one's, quote, immediate next Acharya, how much more does that mean no neglecting Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, from whom we derive our core identity and through whom we see all teachers and teachings. Moreover, the more deeply our spiritual masters connect us with Srila Prabhupada, the more responsibility we have to pass on his unique legacy to others. And this is where somebody asked a question about this. Maybe it was you. About how we do that. Or maybe it was you, Prabhu, how we pass on the teachings. Okay, so the next slide is called
Imbibe and impart Prabhupada's legacy.
When Srila Prabhupada sees we're sincerely following him, he blesses us with the realization to pass on his teachings in ways both faithful and fitting. Prabhupada explains, so this is a favorite purport of mine, it's Bhagavatam 141, of how to pass on the teachings. Okay?
Personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous Acharya. He must have full confidence in the previous Acharya, and at the same time, he must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstances in a suitable manner.
Oops. Go ahead.
The original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it, yet it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization.
This is called realization. When you take the teachings of the previous Acharya and then you are able to understand, assimilate, and express it in your own words in a novel way that's just suitable for the time, the place, the people. To imbibe and impart Prabhupada's legacy is to become gurus in our own right, not to imitate or replace our founder Acharya, but to follow in his footsteps. As Srila Prabhupada put it, quote, because people are in darkness, we require many millions of gurus to enlighten them. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, he said, that every one of you become guru. And the way we end this lesson is we look at, and I took this directly from a booklet. Has anyone read the booklet, Srila Prabhupada, the founder, Acharya of ISKCON? It was published about 10, 11 years ago by the GBC, actually 12 years now. And because there was a committee, I was part of the committee myself, where those of us on the committee, we were trying to establish Srila Prabhupada's preeminent position in ISKCON in different ways. So I was asked to do this, make a seminar series. Yadabar decided he wanted to glorify Prabhupada by making a super movie about Prabhupada's life, which it came to be known as Hare Krishna, the Swami, what is it? The movement, the Swami, and the one who the mantra, the Swami, and the mantra, the movement, and the Swami who started it all. And and then this devotee, Vishnu Murti, he started Vanipedia. You've heard of Vanipedia? Yeah? Like Wikipedia, but Vanipedia is Krishna conscious version. Harishari, he is very expert in worshipping a murti of his, of Srila Prabhupada. And actually Prabhupada taught him how to do it. and then he made a video of how to do that, to have your own Murti of Prabhupada. So Ravindra Sarup Prabhu, who's living in Mayapur now, because he has some Parkinson's, he's older, and he has disciples looking after him in Mayapur. But back about 12 years ago, he was asked by the GBC to write a definitive, a very, thorough presentation of how Prabhupada is the founder of Acharya of ISKCON in a way that no one can dispute. He's the supreme, Shiksha Guru of everybody in ISKCON. So he wrote this nice book. And he ended the book with something called The Benefits of Deeply Understanding Srila Prabhupada's Position. So I just wanted to, acknowledge that this is where this is coming from. And here we go. So Prabhu's going to read each one. There's several of them. Benefits. 7. Okay.
Benefits of deeply understanding Srila Prabhupada's position.
Okay. All right, I'll just read this first. In the booklet, Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, published by the GBC in 2014, Ravindra Sarup Prabhu and his colleagues on the Strategic Planning Committee called Srila Prabhupada's Position concluded by listing the benefits of deeply understanding Prabhupada's unique, transcendental position, especially for all who serve his movement. Okay.
Generation after generation will be able to receive the special mercy offered by Srila Prabhupada. The path back to Godhead he opened will become ever increasingly traveled. Srila Prabhupada's active presence will secure the unity and integrity of ISKCON, strengthening both the GBC and Guru-disciple bonds. By taking full shelter of Srila Prabhupada as Shiksha Guru and his Vani manifestation, all teachers in ISKCON on various levels of advancement will be able to authentically convey Srila Prabhupada's real teachings, thus giving proper guidance, shelter, and protection to all. ISKCON's teaching will remain consistent over space and time. Prabhupada's realized knowledge endowing him with the specific potency to spread Krishna consciousness will not only be preserved but also developed. His books will remain central to us, for they contain insights and direction that awaits future development to be realized.
Yeah, for example, Prabhupada wrote and spoke a lot about Varnashram, but we really haven't done much with that. So there's a lot of things that Prabhupada wanted us to do that we still have to do. So that's why it's important. This is a benefit of keeping Prabhupada in the center in a real way, not just sentimental way. And let's see.
Srila Prabhupada's eyes will always remain the lens through which all future generations see our predecessor, Acharyas.
Yes. Okay. So all these benefits naturally accrue to devotees who realize their core identity as Prabhupada Anugas, Prabhupada's followers. Inspired by our Prabhupada, we will continue to cooperate, even when we disagree, to bring the Lord's mercy to everyone. I can't imagine a better way to please Srila Prabhupada, our beloved founder Acharya. So we're going to do the learning outcomes, and there's something else I'm going to do at the end too, since it's the last lesson. But we'll save that. Okay, here are the learning outcomes.
Lesson 10. Your Srila Prabhupada learning outcomes. By now, we should be able to describe how Srila Prabhupada is a universal teacher. Describe how Srila Prabhupada is a global preacher. Describe how Srila Prabhupada is a matchless giver. Explain how Srila Prabhupada is an Avesha avatar. Explain how Srila Prabhupada is the foundational spiritual master for everyone in ISKCON. Cite 2 ways everyone can build a personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Explain how developing a foundational relationship with Srila Prabhupada does not mean jumping over or shiksha and diksha gurus. Explain our responsibility to imbibe and impart Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Cite the benefits of deeply understanding Srila Prabhupada's unique transcendental position.
Okay. So, yeah, we can do Q&A. Well, I'll just tell you now what I wanted to ask you too. This lesson is called Our Srila Prabhupada, right? It's all about developing our relationship with Srila Prabhupada. But I mean, of course, because you're in the Hare Krishna movement, you're already doing that. So it's always enlivening for me and the devotees to hear how you're doing that, how you're developing your relationship with Srila Prabhupada. So you can either ask a question or share how you're developing your relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And or, is that clear? Yeah. Okay. Questions, comments, sharing? Yes.
I think this might be a little broader, but obviously we are always reading his books. And before going to bed and after I wake up, I just play Prabhupada's lecture. And to be honest, now in the morning, if I play anybody else,
Wait a minute. So before you go to bed and when you wake up, you read a lecture?
I play Prabhupada's
You
lecture.
you play a lecture.
Yeah. And then that helps me connect with the mood. Like listening to Prabhupada in the morning helps you to get in the mood of like, okay, this is what Prabhupada is saying. And to be honest, when I play any other lecture, even for my own guru, sometimes I think, nah, let me just hear Prabhupada first and then after I can do it. So probably, I would say that's my intimate time with Prabhupada, where it's just like, I am listening to Prabhupada.
But when you hear, say, your own Guru Maharaj, who's your Guru Maharaj? Kalakanta Guru? Vaishesha?
His Holiness Bhakti Marg Swami.
Bhakti Marg Swami, yeah. So, well, I mean,
not saying I don't like to listen to him.
no, I know. But I mean, I'm just thinking of Bhakti Marg Swami. It's almost like you have to see him because he's so, he's always acting even when he's lecturing. He's acting things out. He's such a dramatist. But also, you can, when you hear him speak, you're going to definitely hear how he's, bringing you to Prabhupada, too. So it's it's mutual. It's not one or the other. Okay, that's good. I think that's what I do, too. So, question, comment, sharing? Dear God is thinking about it.
I find the audiobook, listen to Prabhupada Namrita audiobook, and there's very, very professional recording.
You've got that book, huh?
Yeah, there's a project called Gaudiya Books, and there's few professional voice actors. Actually, one, his name is Subhash Sakralal. But anyways, he's narrating Prabhupada books and
Yes.
and you experience that as well as, so you're seeing what Prabhupada was going through,
Mm-hmm.
struggling with his family when gradually it developed that his
Mm-hmm.
wife and children were not really into preaching and this
Mm-hmm.
slight drift.
Yeah. A few years ago, Satsur Maharaj, he expressed a desire that his books be recorded, that Lilamrita specifically be recorded in audio. And because I was part of his research team, and I like to speak, so I said, well, I'd like to do that. But then I couldn't get it together, and in the meantime, this is devotee Akendra. Is it Akendra that's the one you hear? I'm imagining it must be.
It's in Russian.
Oh, it's in Russian. Oh, okay.
I can show you the sample, you will understand how it sounds like, because it cannot be compared to anything. I never heard anything even like, I heard few English narrations, but they are rather dry.
Mm-hmm.
You have to strain your brain to immerse yourself in
Yeah.
the context. But here it's almost like a drama. You
Yes.
hear it and you get it.
Yes. Well, that's how this Akendra is good. He was in a band called Shelter 108. That's how we came. In a punk, it was called, what do they call it? It's part of the punk rock scene in America. And then, what do they call themselves? It was like, yeah, Raghunath. But I mean, there was a branch of punk. They called themselves Clean Punk, or what was it? Anyway, so Kendra, he was a rock and roll guy, but then he has a whole studio. So he does this too, and he puts out satirical records, funny records. Yum Niyam Das Brahmachari, you've heard of this?
He did some Christmas song.
Yeah, it's funny. So he also did a very immersive kind of thing, but this is in English. So I'm glad to hear it's in Russian too. Okay, so now this is very enlivening, and Satsur Maharaj wanted this because he knows that a lot of people just don't read, but they like to hear the books. And so I'm glad, and to this day, reading the Lilamrita or hearing it, it continues to inspire people to come to Krishna consciousness. Or to continue in Krishna consciousness by getting to know Prabhupada more. So, I'm glad to know. It's in Russian, that's great. This should be in every language.
Maybe I can show you the sample, how it sounds like, to give an impression.
Okay, well we don't know Russian, but just the vibe is good.
Just the vibe.
Yeah. And what part is it of the Lilamrita, do you know?
Well, this is Gaura Lila Smarna Mangala Stotra, but the sound, the style of narrating is the same outline.
Can you make it louder? Oh.
Служил Шри Чайтанье в своем доме. Вот Acharya очистил свое сердце от всей скверны.
Yes. Well, have you heard Amala Bhakta or Dravida? I mean, or Damodar in America. There's many people who do these dramatic readings with the sound effects, and even Amala Bhakta, he does different voices. When he's a child, he makes a child voice. When he makes a lady, he could do a lady's voice. So it is like you say, like a drama. It's even better. It really draws you in. Okay. Questions, comments, more sharing? I know Samir Prabhu develops his relationship with Prabhupada every morning by coming and holding up the morning program almost single-handedly. party, but like this. But also, I probably won't come to Guru Puja because I'll be packing. Because he's taking me at 10 to the airport.
I just wanted to ask about Vanipedia that you mentioned.
Yes.
I had an impression because I used to speak to some Diksha Guru Forever devotees before.
Oh, yeah.
They were really fond of Vanipedia.
Yeah.
They consider that as good authority as Prabhupada.
Yeah, because they're taking it wrong. They're taking it that everybody is Prabhupada's Diksha disciple. And therefore, Vanipedia's mission is to put everybody directly in touch with Prabhupada. That's not.
But Vanipedia has nothing to do with them, right?
No, not at all. It's this devotee, Vishnu Murti Prabhu, he was initiated actually by Bhagavan. But he is an example of somebody whose Diksha Guru, left big time in a very scandalous way. And who took shelter of Prabhupada, but knew that Prabhupada, wanted everybody to be gurus and wanted the parampara to go on. But wanted to really, it's in the mood of connecting everybody foundationally, as Prabhupada being everybody's foundational Shiksha Guru, like that. No, it's nothing to do with Ritvik. Which is good news. I'm in touch with him. He just wrote me and he said, because he's established not only Vanipedia, but he's like Vani, he's like a Vani fanatic. He wants to have a Vaniversity, establish a university based on Prabhupada's Vani. And then he's just established he lives in Radhadesh. You've been to Radhadesh, anybody? In Belgium? It's a great community in Belgium. And he's establishing, he got his own separate property just off the temple property. And it's called Vani Village, where people can come to Krishna consciousness just by being immersed in Prabhupada's Vani. And he's also recruiting people. He wants more people involved in developing Vanipedia so that it can reach people in so many different ways, using digital technology. Yes?
Prabhu, also, while you're here, I'm going to use this chance. There's a story about a devotee, you know definitely his name, I forgot from, what was his name? When there was a flight to the moon, and he was doing a massage to Prabhupada, and then he heard like his hands got weaker, right? He kind of didn't continue, and I heard he gave up movement or something.
Yeah.
Do you know his
Yeah.
story?
It's Purushotam. Purushotam. So the moon, so-called moon landing was in August '69. Neil Armstrong famously said, "That's one step for man and one giant leap for mankind." You remember that, right? So, and planting the flag and all this stuff. So anyway, where was Prabhupada? Prabhupada was in England. Yeah, he was in England because he had just come at the invitation of the devotees. This is when Prabhupada met the Beatles the next month in September. But it was before. I don't think he was at Chittenhurst yet, John Lennon's estate. Yeah, he wasn't there. He was somewhere else. They got him some apartment because Berry Place, they had gotten the place, but they were renovating it. There was no place for Prabhupada to stay, so they had some apartment. I forget the name of the place. And so Purushotam, or that's how we say it, used to say it in America, it's Purushottama, right? Like Jagannath Puri, Purushottama Kshetra. So Purushotam was really into the moon landing. And he was acting as Prabhupada's servant at the time. So he he wanted to show Prabhupada how they're going to the moon. Look, Prabhupada, they're going to the moon. And Prabhupada had already said to reporters, and perhaps Purushottam must have known this, that it's not possible for people to go to the moon, because the moon is Chandraloka, it's a heavenly planet, and Earth people can't go to a heavenly planet without becoming qualified. That you have to be qualified. If your consciousness is in gross earthly consciousness, we're in a middle planetary system, you can't go. It's kind of like Ravana wanting to build a staircase to heaven, right? To barge into heaven, just, I can do it, right? So Prabhupada compared trying to go to the moon in machines, earth machines, like Ravana trying to build a staircase to heaven. But Purushottam, he had a lot of faith in modern science. So he brought the TV into the Prabhupada's room, and he said, "Now we're gonna see how they're going to land on the moon, Prabhupada." Right? So they went into their orbit around the moon, and then the lunar lander came down from the ship, right? And Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, and I forget who the other guy was. And supposedly they had pictures, and they see movies of them bounding around. Remember that? Bounding around the moon, because it's only 1/6 the gravity of Earth. So they're, and so Purushottam is so proud. He said, "Just see, Prabhupada, they're on the moon. Man is so great, And so Prabhupada said, "This is bogus. This is bogus. They didn't go anywhere." And so Purushottam, but look, we can see. You can see the movies, the pictures. I mean, even later on, one of the astronauts in the Apollo program, they call it the Apollo program. Now they have this Artemis program. They want to go back to the moon and build a base, right? So he came out and said, actually, the whole thing was staged. It was fake. It was fake. But then he was, the NASA, the American Space Program Agency, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, said this guy is just a disgruntled former employee, and now he's saying all these crazy things. He's got no credibility. They tried their hardest, and Americans wanting to believe that they did go to the moon said, "Yeah, the guy must be nuts. Of course we went to the moon. Look, we can see the pictures." And they even at the time, people were pointing out who knew photography and who knew film said that, look, you can't. This is wrong. This is a bogus thing. This is staged. This is not real. So, but later on in purports and also in speaking, Prabhupada said different things. He said, even if you go to the moon mechanically, it's just like Prabhupada said, if you go to India and you don't have a visa, they won't let you in. So similarly, even if you go to the moon in some earth, vehicle, you can't enter into the life of the moon. Because so Prabhupada laughed, what do they say? It's just rocks and dust? They have this in the Smithsonian Institution in D.C. They have the lunar module, they have supposedly, the kind of the tin can they were in, and then they have the dust and the rocks. And Prabhupada said, this is nonsense. The moon is a heavenly planet. It's just that they, with their earth senses and their earth consciousness, they can't perceive what's going on in the moon. Or another way he said was, just like if some aliens from another planet came to Earth and they happened to land in the Sahara Desert, if they thought that's what Earth was, just sand, the biggest desert in the world, they wouldn't be getting the whole picture. Yeah. Or, here's another thing Prabhupada said. Maybe they went to Rahu. Have you read this in Prabhupada's books? Yeah, maybe they went to Rahu, which was another planet that's around that area. Yes.
They were showing on video, there was on YouTube what I've seen, it was like a fake landing. They posted on Facebook many times, those kind of.
You can see it on YouTube.
Taking off
Yeah.
his oxygen mask.
And the flag, there's no
Yes.
wind or something, or
Yes, there was. Yeah, that flag.
The main question when they show the pictures, who was filming them?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, there was a camera filming the landing.
well, that's so obvious. And then wasn't another astronaut? No? Anyway.
But
Hey.
do you know what happened to Purushottam?
Yeah, so because Prabhupada said, no, they didn't go, this is bogus. This really disturbed Purushottam. He stayed with Prabhupada a little while longer, and then finally he left. And then the devotees said later, where did Purushottam go? And so Prabhupada said, maybe he went to the moon. Prabhupada. But people would get, yes, you want to?
He came out, there was a cooking going on and something burst, and all the black smoke was on the face of Purushottam, and so they came out of the kitchen, and devotee says, what happened? And Prabhupada remarked, I think he came back from the moon.
He came back from the moon. People have left the Hare Krishna movement. You can't, people don't leave for philosophical reasons. I mean, you can't, there's nothing like a Chincha Beta Beta Tattva. That's like the last word in all philosophy, religion. But they leave for material, conditioning, prejudice, because we have some attachment to something that pulls us away. So, of course, Purushottam was the moon. That was his thing. Now Yadabar tells a funny story that he was circumambulating Krishna Balaram Mandir. This was years later. I think it was 75. And all of a sudden, because he's a cinematographer, he's a movie maker, and he was starting to wonder about the moon. How could so many people be fooled, by this, the whole they'd have to be, if it's a conspiracy, how could they conceal that, from so many people? And he's a movie maker, so he was circumambulating Krishna Balaram Mandir. And then all of a sudden, and Prabhupada was in Vrindavan at the time, in his quarters. You've been to Prabhupada's quarters in Krishna Balaram? Prabhupada's room, his house. Yeah. So anyway, Prabhupada was there. And so all of a sudden, somebody comes out of Prabhupada's rooms and comes up to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada wants to see you. This is an example of mystic power. So Yadavar, Prabhupada wants to see me, it's japa time, and he's just, so Yadavar goes in, bows down, right in front of Prabhupada's desk, the desk in Prabhupada's house. And right now there's a murti there of Prabhupada, right? And there's always a letter. Anyway, Prabhupada's there, physically there. And so Yadavar bows down, looks up, and all Prabhupada said was, I know what you're thinking, but take it from me, they didn't go anywhere. So how did he know what Yadavar was thinking? And also, Prabhupada has complete faith in the Shastric presentation of the universe, as you read in the 5th canto, which is a higher dimensional kind of presentation that we can't understand because it's inconceivable to our earth senses. But that's what the TOVP is all about. It's really taking us from our plane of existence all the way up to, there's going to be an escalator. Have you been to the TOVP? There's going to be an escalator. You go start from Earth, or does it start from Patala? I forget. I guess it's Earth. Yeah, because that's where we are. And you go up to the heavenly planets and shows the demigods and Tapaloka and all. And finally you get to Goloka. That's the temple. And then the planetarium part is over, way on the western side. And they haven't even started that yet. I mean, the shell, but nothing inside. So the late Sadhaputta Prabhu, our scientist, who passed away in 2007, I believe, he was spending his life, a lot of his life's work was trying to reconcile the empirical understanding of the universe as presented in Surya Siddhanta, which Bhaktisiddhanta wrote. So it's an astrological treatise about the observable universe, Surya Siddhanta. With the Bhagavatam's presentation of the universe, which is from Shukadev Goswami, and his presentation is from the view of the Devas, Mount Meru and all these, and Jambudweep and all this stuff that we can't perceive. So a lot of his notes, Sadhaputta's notes, are being used still of how to present this in the TLVP. So, because he was a real brilliant devotee. He was kind of like the Einstein of ISKCON. Prabhupada loved Sadhaputta because he was always presenting things scientifically. And Prabhupada was always trying to present Krishna consciousness as a science, not as some sectarian religious faith. It's a spiritual science. So he was always praising Sadhaputta. He's a real devotee. He's convinced of the Bhagavatam by his intelligence. Yeah. There's a website, you can go hear Sadhaputta's lectures. Okay, so thank you for letting me come and for inviting me to ISKCON Montreal, Mandir. I just met somebody today who came in, I don't know where, he said, have you been to some other place, northeast Quebec? Have you been to our ashram? He was saying. Do you know who this place is?
Shivananda?
Yeah, I think Shivananda. What is this?
You know Shivananda movement, no?
Shivananda?
Shivananda.
You mean the Mayavadis?
I don't know. Maybe
Shivananda. Shivananda what? What do you mean? Is he in ISKCON or?
Well, they have a net of ashrams all around the globe, and sometimes devotees are visiting. It's like also the treat. Many devotees used to go there, and now they're here. And they're also.
Are they Vaishnavas or Mayavadis?
I don't think so, because they have Krishna deity at the temple.
Well, so do Mayavadis, but they say he's a manifestation of the impersonal. They don't. Mayavadis, they also chant mantras, they chant Hare Krishna, but it's always as a way to ascend to the impersonal absolute. Okay, so where is this Shivananda ashram?
It's 1 hour, 1.5 hours north.
Okay.
It's a nice place. It's Satvik.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes devotees go there to chant kirtan also.
Okay, so they're friendly.
I think you met Bhagavad Acharya, right?
I don't know who I met. He didn't tell me his name. He's some guy. He wasn't old. He was like maybe, I don't know, in his 40s or something.
Yeah, I think it was him because he was a few days ago there.
Okay. Yeah, and he just came to see. He said, "My Lord, Krishna." So So I said, okay, no, I don't know. I haven't. He said, first thing he said to me, he saw me chanting on the bench, and he said, "Ça va? Ça va bien? Are you okay?" And I said, "Do you know English?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay. I've been here for a week presenting Prabhupada. I don't know if he knew Prabhupada. Do they know Prabhupada?"
Most of them. Yeah.
Okay. And now I'm leaving tomorrow for Fredericton and blah, 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 and then, Halifax. Yeah. So anyway, it's been very nice. Wish it was bigger, but now we see who the real hardcore Prabhupada people are. Well, I shouldn't say that. I know there's some very nice devotees who are just living on a different schedule. Like, what's his name? Manakishore? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he came last night too.
Yes.
Yeah. And I said, "Who are you, Prabhu?" "Oh, you're Manakishore. I get to meet you." And I met Chaitanya Vikram, at the Sunday feast, and he was hearing. Yeah, he was holding his kid. Okay, yeah. So yeah, and I'm staying in. It was a nice room. Nice prasad. Thank you very much. He did iron my clothes. So yeah. I was in Toronto last year and then Eastern Canada. So I don't know when I'll be back, to tell you the truth. But this is my second time in Montreal. Nice place. We'll see. It's up to Krishna. If he wants me to come, he'll make an arrangement. Because the only way I can travel is if people pay my tickets, I can't. I can't just travel around. I'm living on limited government money, old age money. Okay, thank you very much, Prabhus. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vanchakalpadrubhyascha kripasinjabheva paditanam bhavanebhyo namaha. So, muffin? Or what's the... Yeah. That depends on how much...
Everything?
Well, just bring a cup of milk and however much. Just bring a whole cup. If there's 2 muffins that are light, like one night you gave me blueberry muffins, they were really good. Ooh, or maybe it was Mataji. Wow, I could have eaten, I only took 1 and I wish I had eaten 2. Because they were light and fluffy, they weren't heavy.
Okay, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So just bring a full, boiling hot, and then we'll take it from there. See how much.
At 9?
Yeah, at 9. Thank you. Yeah.